Hi and welcome to my retro fun stuff. I've been really looking forward to checking out some of my Commodore monitors. So what I thought I'd start off with is a comparison between two monitors that to me look really similar, aesthetically anyway. So here we have the Commodore 1942 and here we have the Commodore 1084 SP1. Now the Commodore 1084 SP1, I believe that P in P1 designation means that it is a Philips tube in there, which I'm really happy about because I'm a big fan of Philips and their products. As you can see, the two monitors differ in that this one here, the 1942, still has its front door, whereas the 1084, unfortunately, is one of the few that I have in my collection that doesn't have the front door. I really look for those things when I pick up a new monitor. But unfortunately, this is one of the earliest pickups that I had, and I still haven't come across a 1084 to replace it with the front door, or at least to have a front door, unless I want a 3D print one, but that's not really my style. Fine if it's yours, but yeah, not mine. Interestingly, with the 1942, the front door is a much whiter color than the rest of the front. And as we have a look at the rest of it, you'll notice that the front is a bit more yellowed than the rest of it. It's a white version, whereas this is kind of that, I suppose, Commodore 64C creamy beige color, the 1084 SP1. Now, besides that, superficially speaking, these two monitors are almost exactly the same, I believe. And I really just wanted to explore that with you. I hope you want to check it out too. Let's go. Okay, so here we have the front of the Commodore 1942 and the front of the Commodore 1084 SP1. As I've mentioned before, one of the main differences between these two monitors that's initially apparent, the 1942 still has its front door, whereas the 1084 SP1 is obviously missing its front door. Just pushing it in to open it up, gently lowering the door, because the last thing I want to do is have it break off. Another thing that we can see that's different straight away in these two. So one of the differences that we can see straight away here on the 1942, we can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 icons, whereas in the 1084 SP1, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 icons. One of the other differences that's immediately noticeable on the Commodore 1942 is that the icons are printed on this lower bit beneath the dials and buttons, whereas on the 1084 SP1, it's above, printed on the shelf above the buttons. So both have a volume knob on the far left-hand side, okay, and then there start to be some changes. So both on the right-hand side have H phase, horizontal phase, and brightness and contrast, okay, but the 1084S has color and green switch, whereas the 1942 has vertical shift, vertical size, and then the button is horizontal width, over, scan, and normal. Other than that, as I mentioned before, there's a fair bit of yellowing which is visible in this part of the 1942 monitor. The 1084 SP1 is more of that Commodore 64C beige color as mentioned before. Here we can tell the difference in the color between the Commodore 1942. Here it's much whiter than on the front face. Okay, but looking at the similarities and differences between the two models, they both have this line here. They both have these vents, the vent lines there. They both have on the top, you can see the ends of the vent lines, and whatever that is that a audio jack? I'm not sure. Other than that, the one in the 1084 SP1 Seems a little bit bigger than the one in the 1942, but otherwise very similar. So here we have the rear of the 1942 and the 1084 SP1. So the 1942 has a manufactured date of May 1993. I believe that the manufacture date of the 1084 SP1 is this 8543, last four digits, 85, 43rd week of 1985. So both computers have a switch in a fairly similar place, although this doesn't look quite the same when you look at this bit past the switch there. The IEC is in pretty much the same position. There might be a bit of a difference there, just here. In the 1942, you have a single VGA cord out. I have an adapter which connects it to my Amiga. And then we have left and right audio here, I believe. On the 1084 SP1, we have horizontal size, vertical shift, analog and TTL switch, RGB, actually analog should be in, CVBS and RGB there, CVBS and LGA, we have chroma and luma, and left and right audio. Sorry, left at the bottom, right at the top. Other than that, you can see the vent lines match up at the rear. You can see at the top the lines are the same spacing, the same distance, the same vents here as here, the same rounded shape at the top there. This size is about the same, and the slope, it all pretty much seems to match up. The two screw holes each, although these screw holes seem to be a bit higher than these two. That could be one difference. So there we have it. The Commodore 1942 and the Commodore 1084 SP1. Are they both the same aesthetically? You tell me. There were some slight differences, very, very slight differences. So my money's on that there were some changes, but they are very, very similar in design. Obviously, inside is very different, as this is a VGA capable monitor. This is an RGB monitor. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks, guys. Now, the specifications of the two monitors. The Commodore 1942 is a bi-sync monitor, whereas the Commodore 1084 SP1 is a stereo analog digital RGB and luma chroma video monitor. The 1942 is made in Korea, whereas the 1084 SP1 is made in Taiwan. Manufacturer for the 1942 is Daewoo, whereas the 1084 SP1 is Philips, as I had thought. The Commodore 1942 supports VGA and analog RGB, whereas the 1084 SP1 supports analog RGB, digital RGB, PAL separate and PAL composite, as I am in PAL land. The video connectors, the Commodore 1942 has a built-in cable with male 14-pin D sub, and the Commodore 1084 SP1 has a female 9-pin D sub connector and two RCA connectors for video. For audio, the 1942 has two RCA connectors and the 1084 SP1 has two RCA connectors and one stereo TRS 3.5mm jack connector. The maximum resolution on the Commodore 1942 is 800 by 600 and the 1084 SP1 is 640 by 520 interlaced. The release date for the 1940 is 1993, whereas the Commodore 1084 SP1 is 1989. So obviously the date that I had off that sticker was incorrect. The chassis design for the 1942 is the Commodore number 4 chassis, and for the 1084 SP1 it says here that it is the number 4 chassis as well. The best matching, the model that the monitor best matches, the 1942 is the Amiga 1200, and the 1084 SP1 is late Amiga 2000, late Amiga 500, and the Amiga 1500.
It's time to play a drunk and fun is just a click away.